We are 1 quarter through the NFL season. 4 weeks are in the books, guys. This is Hunt's Hot Takes, and today, a little special edition episode. Instead of kind of reviewing the past games and then doing predictions, I'm going to kind of throw a couple special things at you guys for seeing how we're through the first quarter of the season. So today, it's just going to be me. Mark is out of the office, so Mark, we wish you well. Today, I'm going to actually break down and look into where all the teams stand currently through the first quarter of the season in their divisions. And we're going to kind of see if I'm surprised or not surprised of how they broke down right now. Also, 4 games through the season, I'm going to give you 4 teams that I'm most proud of and 4 teams I'm most disappointed in so far. And of course, knowing me, I got my top 5 segment. So I'm going to look at top 5 quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and to finish off the top 5 teams through the first 4 weeks of the season. So let's get started and let's look at the AFC East right now. Buffalo Bills off to a great start. They're 4-0 at the top of the division. You got Patriots 2-2, Dolphins 1-3, and Jets 0-4. No surprise in this division. Exactly how I thought it would break down, with the Bills at 1, Patriots at 2, and the Dolphins and Jets at the bottom. So no surprises there. I think Mark and I are both high on the Bills coming into the season. Although he picked the Patriots, I'm thinking the Bills still finish strong. So really no surprise in the AFC East. AFC North, Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-0 at the top. Then you have the Ravens and Browns, both 3-1, but the Ravens have the tiebreaker, and the Bengals at 1-2-1. Again, with this division, the only surprise you'd call it is really the Steelers in first and the Ravens in second. Steelers did have that early bye, though. I still think the Ravens passed them somewhere along the season and finish in first. But man, Pittsburgh has looked amazing this year through 3 games, and I'm excited to see if they can keep that up. So in my opinion, look for that Ravens, Steelers to swap spots. Browns, I still think, stay in third, and the Bengals do finish last. So moving on, AFC South. Right now, due to the COVID-19, Titans have only played 3 games. Titans are at the top 3-0. Your boys, Indianapolis Colts, are right there on their tail in second at 3-1. The Jags 1-3, and the Texans sadly 0-4. Again, I've shared my thoughts on the Titans. They have won against 3 bad teams on a last-second field goal 3 weeks in a row. As soon as they were going to play a good team, they got COVID. And now they got the Bills, and they may not play the Bills, man. I don't think they got COVID. I think they're scared of playing good teams. I do obviously think the Colts are a better team than the Titans. Colts number 1 ranked defense right now. We can run the ball. We can pass the ball. Rivers is right in the top 5 in completion percentage, so he's being efficient. And so I obviously look for the Colts to pass the Titans. Once the Titans start playing better teams, I see the Titans and Colts swapping spots down the road. And so the Texans are 0-4. I do think they'll pass the Jags later on in the season. The Texans just fired Coach Bill O'Brien. Not surprised there. I think he's been one of the worst coaches the past couple seasons. They've got talent there, but they can't win. So let's see what the Texans do. But I think Watson can get that team rallied around him with J.J. Watt. And I think the Jags, they beat the Colts week 1. Everybody was on the Minshew train, but now they've dropped 3 straight. So they're back to being the normal Jags. So look for the Texans to pass the Jags and the Colts to pass the Titans, in my opinion. But right now, that's how the AFC South looks. The last division in the AFC is the AFC West. First place is the Chiefs at 4-0. Las Vegas Raiders have split. They're 2-2. Chargers and Broncos clean up the division at 1-3. No real surprises. I know preseason I had the Broncos finishing second, but they've had some injuries that's really bogged them down. Chargers are starting a rookie quarterback in Herbert, who's looked really good though. And the Raiders, they've had some update. They're 2-2. They are what they are. They've had 2 good wins and 2 bad losses. They beat the Saints, which is probably their most notable win. They hung in with the Patriots for a while. So they've had a couple tough opponents. But of course, no surprise here. The Chiefs are going to run away with this division. Of course, I see them probably being the number 1 seed in the AFC. Again, the surprise is the Broncos being in last through 4 games, but of course that is because of injury. So I'm interested to see what the Las Vegas Raiders do throughout the rest of the season. Again, I'll probably recap each quarter of the season. So next 4 games will come back halfway through the season, so forth, so on and so forth. So I'm interested to see what the Raiders do. Can Herbert start to win games with the Chargers? And the Broncos are probably going to finish last. No Von Miller, no Drew Lock, no Courtland Sutton. So that's pretty obvious there. So that's the AFC. Let's move on to the NFC. And let's start with the terrible NFC East. Your Philadelphia Eagles are in first place at 1-2-1. Then Washington's in second at 1-3. Dallas third 1-3, and the Giants 0-4. Surprises, yes, heavily surprised with how bad the division is. The Giants, I was high on them in the offseason, guys. Had them finishing in third. Heck, they could win 1 game and be right there, but no Saquon Barkley for the rest of the year. The defense is atrocious, and you're relying on a second-year quarterback to pretty much carry the franchise, Daniel Jones, and that's not going to happen. He's not there yet. Most guys aren't. So, probably see the Giants finishing last. They probably have a chance, honestly, I think, to still beat Washington. Washington, I think, just benched Dwayne Haskins, so they're going with Kyle Allen. They don't know what's going on in Washington, so definitely Washington and the Giants probably going to finish third and fourth there. Still think the Giants can beat them. Then you're going to have, this is going to be a turtle race to the finish line with the Giants and the Cowboys. The Cowboys and the Eagles. Cowboys are 1-3, and honestly, they should be 0-4. Obviously, that Falcons onside kick. I mean, the Cowboys could really be looking at 0-4 right now. Their defense is the worst in the NFL, in my opinion. But then you got Philly, who's banged up. So Dallas's offense, honestly, is way better than Philly's. But Philly's defense obviously ain't as bad as Dallas's. Personally, I think if Philly can get healthy, they will finish in first place just because Dallas will do what Dallas does. Until they can prove America wrong, I'm not going to pick them. Obviously, I think they'll finish with a over 500 record, but they've got to figure some things out, man. So that's where we stand with the NFC East. Eagles in first, Giants in last. Whew, it's looking rough there. NFC North, the Packers, no surprise, are 4-0 in first place. The Bears, very surprised, they're 3-1 in second. Lions and Vikings, third and fourth, tied at 1-3. Obviously, I'm surprised with the Vikings and Bears positions. Preseason, I had the Vikings finishing second. I don't really know what's going on there in Minnesota. Bears have beat some bad teams. The minute they played a good team in the Colts this past week, they lost. I don't look for the Bears to drop in the division. I don't think they can keep it up. I'm not a Nick Foles guy. The media needs to chill out on Foles. And I think the Vikings can turn it around because they got probably one of the best backs in the league. Hint, hint. We'll get to that segment a little bit later. So obviously Packers winning the division, no surprise. I do look for the Lions to finish last still, and the Vikings. I think they may be able to catch the Bears. We'll see moving ahead. NFC South, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in first place. That's Mark's pick to win it at 3-1. The Saints have been so up and down at 2-2. They got to get Thomas back. The Carolina Panthers are surprising 2-2, and the Falcons are 0-4. Again, Falcons and Dallas to me are the same. They have very, very loaded offenses. But the Falcons probably the second worst defense in the league behind Dallas. And I do look for them to get back on track, man. Every week I'm like, all right, the Falcons will win, the Falcons will win. There's just no way, man, that they're going to finish this poorly, in my opinion. Believe it or not, I think they catch Carolina throughout the season. I think Atlanta maybe will probably finish third. They're not finishing in the top 2. So look for Atlanta. They're only 2 games back from Carolina. I see them catching them. The Saints, only 1 game back behind the Bucs. Remember, they beat them once, so they currently have the tiebreaker. Once they get Thomas back, I think Breeze will finally find his groove. I mean, you got to think, his number 1 receiver has been Emmanuel Sanders. Talented, but he's an older guy with some injuries. So I think the Saints get back on track. Again, in 4 weeks when we come back, halfway through the season, look for the Saints to either be tied or take the lead there. And the last division of football is the best division of football, and that's the NFC West. You got the Seahawks in first at 4-0, Los Angeles Rams 3-1, Cardinals 2-2, Niners 2-2. Now Niners obviously have been hurt, so look for them to bounce back. The Cardinals, man, they started off hot 2-0 and then lost to the Lions and the Panthers. So is this a team who's going to play well against other good teams and then play down to their opponents? I hope not, but we will see. Rams are surprising at 3-1. This is going to be a toss-up for me. I think Seattle wins the division. Obviously, I had the Niners, but I also called it a toss-up between the Niners and Seahawks. I think Seahawks win the division. And then 3 through 4s, man, it's going to be a race. Look for 3 teams in this division to possibly make the playoffs, guys. So that is where the divisions currently stand and what I think about them. So now let's move on to 4 teams that I'm proud of and 4 teams I'm disappointed in heavily. The first team I'm proud of, man, is the Buffalo Bills. And, part of it has to do with 4-0, but they're a smooth 4-0, man. They beat some good teams, and they've won some nail-biting games. And also, just because it's been the Patriots division for so long, the Buffalo Bills are finally taking it away from them, and they're the big brother now. And so I'm proud that the Bills, a lot of hype was on them in the offseason. A lot of hype was on Josh Allen. They're answering the call. They're doing what we expected them to do. They're 2 games ahead of Carolina, or I'm thinking Cam Newton. 2 games ahead of New England Patriots. And I'm just proud of the Bills. It's time to see something different in the East. Let's see if they can get it done in January, though. Another team I'm proud of is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've always been a big hater of the Steelers. I'm not a big Steelers fan. But listen, this is a team last year who was terrible because of injuries, of course. But then you got a big man coming back. He's old. He's hurt. There was questions about James Conner in the offseason. There's questions about Juju in the offseason. Could he really be a number 1 receiver? But the thing is, this defense is going to be a top 5 unit probably for years to come. Mike Tomlin doesn't get enough credit for how great of a coach he is. I think he's probably a top 5 coach in the league off the top of my head. And Big Ben's answering the questions. He can still play at, 36, 36. He's as old as Phillip Rivers, man. Phillip Rivers and Big Ben's looking good this season. So shout out to the old heads. But I'm proud of the Steelers. They're 3-0. It's going to be a boxing match with the Ravens the rest of the season. I'm excited to see how that shakes out. So I'm proud of the Bills, proud of the Steelers. Keeping it in the division. I'm proud of the Cleveland Browns. Guys, they're 3-1, and it's funny because we make a big deal out of that. It's not that big of a deal, but for the Browns, it is. They got thumped by the Ravens in Week 1, and I truly felt that y'all was overreacting. I mean, the Ravens are probably one of the best teams in the league. We'll get to that. But, I mean, they looked great against Dallas. Their offense looked amazing. Finally, that's what their offense can look like. The defense still, though, they did give up a lot. They almost lost the game. But I'm proud that the Browns are 3-1. Because they probably have they always have a lot of hype on them and their players coming to the offseason. So they're kind of answering the call. Let's look for the Browns to continue the momentum. They play the Colts this week. That's a toss-up game, but I'm proud of the Browns for living up to the hype, winning 3 games in a row, getting back on track. And we'll see if that Nick Chubb injury is serious, but Kareem Hunt is an RB1 in this league, so he can take over. And the last team I'm proud of, I'm pretty much just proud of the AFC North because the last 4th team I'm proud of is the Cincinnati Bengals. They are 1-2-1. I understand they're in last place, but it's like they're probably the best 1-2-1. They have such a bright future. Joe Burrow has looked so good. They have a young running back in Joe Mixon. They have Tyler Boyd. They have T. Higgins, 2 young receivers. They have a young offensive-minded head coach. The Bengals are in the right direction. So Bengals fans, guys, be excited and be proud. I'm proud of them that they at least look good on the field. Like, they're not getting just waxed around. They play the Ravens this week. I'm excited to see if they can at least compete. Like, that's what I want to see from the Bengals. Just compete. Put a good team on the field. So I'm proud of the Bengals, man. I think they're heading in the right direction. It's about time for them. Look for Joe Burrow to continue his success. Probably win Rookie of the Year. Those are the 4 teams I'm most proud of through 4 games. The 4 teams I'm most disappointed in. Let's jump to that. The Houston Texans are 0-4. Y'all just signed Deshaun Watson to a huge deal. You got Dabo Swinney saying he's the Michael Jordan of football. Please slow down. And they're 0-4. And it's like, I understand, like, you had a bad coach, you got rid of him. You may not have the best roster. You got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. But, like, if you're Deshaun Watson, like, if you're a top 5 quarterback in the league, like everybody hypes you up to be, yeah, your offensive line sucks. Trust me, I'm a Colts fan. I've heard the story before. Watson, I mean, he needs to be doing better. They're 0-4. You got to win a game, bro. Yeah, they've played tough opponents. I understand that. But you've got to win a game, man. I'm disappointed in the Texans. I don't care that they're so bad, obviously, but I'm just saying I'm disappointed in Watson for I just feel like he needs to step up as a leader and kind of get that team rolling. But again, look for them to do that with firing Bill O'Brien. Another team that I'm disappointed in, of course, are the Atlanta Falcons. Guys, they're 0-4. We've harped on this every week. I'm not going to waste time on it. Be better. Atlanta has to be better. They have an MVP at quarterback. They have probably some of the best receivers in the league. Todd Gurley, running back. Dan Quinn, honestly, it's time to go in Atlanta. I don't think they're going to do it middle of the season, but I'm pretty disappointed in Atlanta. I had high hopes coming into the season. Third team I'm disappointed in is the Minnesota Vikings. What's going on? They were a playoff team last season, guys. And 10-6, and now they're 1-4. And they only lost Stephon Diggs offensively. You drafted Justin Jefferson, who's been balling out. So you still have Thielen and Cook. I don't understand what the issue is there. They did lose a lot of defensive pieces, though. So that's probably it right there in Minnesota. They finally got their first win of the season. I'm hoping they bounce back and start climbing it up in that division and make it tough for the Packers. I don't think they will, but I'm highly disappointed in Minnesota. And then the last team is the Saints. They're 2-2, and it's kind of been an ugly 2-2. Like, I'm not high on the Saints right now. Of course, in my opinion, the best receiver in the league, when he's not on the field, you obviously see the impact it makes. But outside of that, Breeze has just, he hasn't looked like Breeze, and you can't use the age because Tom Brady's looking good, Big Ben's looking good, Rivers. I expected more. The expectations for the Saints are so high is the reason why. But once Thomas comes back, again, I think the Saints will make that climb. But at 2-2, losing to the Raiders, the Lions almost had your number. I expect more from the Saints, and I think they'll give it to me. And out of those four teams, the Vikings, the Saints, and the Houston Texans were all playoff teams last year. And the Saints, out of those four I just named, are probably the only ones who are going to make the playoffs. So that's who I'm proud of and disappointed in. Now let's move on to our top 5 segment. 5. We're going to start with our top 5 quarterbacks through the first quarter of the season. Let's get that list up for you guys. So my top 5 quarterbacks, as you can see, through the first quarter of the season. Guys, number 5, I got Dak Prescott. He leads the league in passing yards. 1,600 passing yards. 68% completion percentage. That's above league average. That's solid. And he has a 9-touchdown, 3-interception ratio. Yeah, he's the only quarterback on this list with a losing record. But again, these top 5 positional groups are individual based. This isn't team wins, team effort. This is you as a player. How do you look through 4 games? Dak Prescott, to me, has been the 5th best quarterback in the league. So shout out. Finally a bright spot for Dallas. Get that defense turned around, though. 4th best quarterback in the league right now is Patrick Mahomes. And that's funny because it's just like Holmes, we're so accustomed to what he does. It's just like, yeah, it's just Patrick Mahomes. Like, his numbers are still incredible. He's slightly down, and he's 8th in yards with 1,100, but he has 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. His completion is 67%. Again, good league average there. He hasn't thrown a pick all season. His yards are down, but they're finally running the ball. They have a threat on the ground game with Clyde Edwards. So Patrick Mahomes, 4th best for me right now. 3rd on the list, man, Josh Allen. Young kid, 70% completion percentage. 2nd in yards, 1,300, and he has a 12 touchdown, 1 interception ratio. That's incredible for Josh Allen. He's growing and growing year after year, and that's why his team is undefeated. You'll notice the top 4 guys on this list, their teams are undefeated because the quarterback's the most important position on the field. So Josh Allen is the 3rd best right now, and the top 3 are so close. Number 2, you can see Aaron Rodgers. That's a bad man. 70% completions, 1,200 yards, which is good for 5th in the league. 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's just crazy, man. You don't see these kind of numbers, man. Like, back in the day, you didn't see this stuff, man. But people are so efficient now. It's crazy to me that people were doubting him in the offseason. It's like, you shouldn't have a job. Like, how can you analyze and debate football and look at all these analytics and literally, like, I saw so many people not even have Rodgers in his top 5 anymore. Like, do you honestly know football, or are you just like reading into what the media says, and it's just crazy to me, dude. 13 touchdowns, no picks. Rodgers, second best quarterback by a margin, because number one is Russell Wilson. Hashtag let Russ cook. That's Seattle's hashtag. He is third in yards, 1,200. 16 touchdowns, leads the league in only 2 interceptions. He also leads the league in completion percentage. So it's like, oh, he only has all these yards because he's throwing it all the time. He's throwing it all the time, and he leads the league in completion percentage and only has 2 interceptions. Russell Wilson's the best quarterback in football right now through 4 weeks. Your top 5 is Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen. To me, those 3 are your top MVP candidates. And then Mahomes at 4, Prescott rounds it out in 5. A notable missing piece is your former MVP, Lamar Jackson. Ravens are 3-1. Jackson's individual passing numbers aren't the greatest, so look for him to turn it around moving forward. Let's move it on to our top 5 running backs of the first 4 games of the season. And at number 5, maybe the surprise of all these lists, guys, I hope you've seen this guy. I hope you know what I'm talking about. James Robinson, running back for the Jags. Undrafted, okay? Undrafted rookie. They send Leonard Fournette down the road. This Robinson kid comes in, and he's balling, man. He's 8th in rushing, 285 yards. But he's getting, if you can get average 4 yards, over 4 yards a carry, that's good. Under 4 yards, I don't think it's good. So 4 yards is like the average. That's the parameter for me. He's averaging 4.8, and he's got 3 touchdowns, and he also can catch the ball out of the backfield. So right now, I don't think, other than the guys above him, you may be able to talk about 1 or 2 names who's better than him right now, but I'm sticking up for James Robinson. He's the 5th best running back right now. Look at his numbers. They're solid. 4 for me right now is Nick Chubb out of Cleveland. I hate that he just got hurt because he was on a roll. Nick Chubb is 3rd in rushing yards with 335 rushing yards. He's averaging 5.9 yards a carry. That is, I think, league best in running backs. He's also got 4 rushing TDs. He's also good catching out of the backfield. Nick Chubb, 4th best running back in the league right now. At number 3, your boy Alvin Kamara out of New Orleans is nasty right now. He's a little lower on the rushing yards. He only has 236 rushing yards, which is 20th in the league. 4.7 a pop, that's good. 4 rushing touchdowns, but we all know what he can do receiving the ball. Ridiculous numbers. I think he has 3 receiving touchdowns, 2 or 3 receiving touchdowns on the year. And he's so dangerous, running or catching. Alvin Kamara is having a great season carrying the load without Thomas. Right now, he's 3rd for me. Number 2, and it was so close, Dalvin Cook. He leads the league in rushing, 424 yards, 5.7 yards a carry, 6 rushing touchdowns. Dalvin Cook is the Minnesota Vikings offense right now. But for me, I'm going to have to go with Aaron Jones, number 1 running back through 4 games. He's balling. He's 2nd in yards, 374 yards, 5.8 a pop, which is great. 4 rushing touchdowns. He also has 2 receiving touchdowns. I think Aaron Jones is slightly better catching the ball than Dalvin Cook and getting that yak. That's kind of what put him over the top for me, and the Packers are just rolling. So give me Aaron Jones at 1, Dalvin Cook 2, Kamara 3, Nick Chubb 4, and James Robinson at 5. That's your top 5 running backs through the first quarter of the season, in my opinion. Moving on to the wide receivers, my favorite position. At number 5, Calvin Ridley. What's crazy is he has all these numbers that you see on the screen, and that's really only 3 games. Because this past week, he had no catches, no yards. That's crazy. He got shut down like that. But already, Calvin Ridley's 7th in receiving yards, 349. He's got 4 touchdowns. And again, that's pretty much without another game. So Calvin Ridley's balling for me. He's kind of taking that torch from Julio, man. Julio is so talented, but for some reason, he just hasn't really clicked lately. So I like what Calvin Ridley's doing. 4 is DK Metcalf. Look at this stat. DK Metcalf is averaging 25 yards a catch. Averaging 25 yards a catch. He's 2nd. He's actually tied for 1st in receiving yards, 403. He only has 16 catches. But he has 3 touchdowns as well. He is a deep ball massacre. So give me DK Metcalf at 4. This is only his second season. At 3, Stephon Diggs. Good for him. He got out of Minnesota. He got what he wanted. He got to Buffalo. And he's looking great. Stephon Diggs is tied for first in receiving yards with 403 rushing yards. He's got 26 receptions, 15 yards a catch, and 2 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs is the 3rd best receiver in the league right now. The numbers don't lie. Number 2 is Amari Cooper. He's gelling well with Dak right now. Again, as the defense. Amari Cooper, third in the league in receiving yards, 401. He's got 37 receptions, which is good for second in the league. So he's second in receptions, 3rd in yards. And so, I mean, how can you not give it to Amari there? He's got 1 touchdown on the season. Number 1 is Hopkins for me. Oh, he's looked great. He's got 39 catches on the season. That leads the league. 397 yards, 1 touchdown. Look for that touchdown number to go up this season. I'm loving Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. They're clicking. They're gelling. It looks amazing. That's my top 5 receivers through the first quarter of the season. Hopkins, Cooper, Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, and Calvin Ridley. Now to end the episode, I'm going to give you my top 5 teams through the first 4 weeks. I think a lot of lists are going to have these same 4 teams, but the order may be a little different. So, number 5 for me, the Baltimore Ravens. They're 3-1, right? Their only losses to the Kansas City Chiefs. So, I mean, you can't really blame them there. They still look good. They're a powerhouse in the AFC. Lamar Jackson needs to step it up a little bit passing, but I think that defense and that run game can carry them. So Baltimore for me is the 5th best team in the league at 3-1. The 4th best team in the league right now is the Seattle Seahawks. Now, how do I differentiate between the 4-0 teams? So Seattle's offense is amazing right now, but their defense is the worst defense of the 4-0 teams. So I got to put Seattle at 4. But you got your MVP in Russell Wilson. You got your 4th best receiver, DK Metcalf. Chris Carson's doing a little bit of work. If they can just tweak that D a little bit better and play a little better, man, Seattle's going to be dangerous in January. So right now they're 4 for me. And number 3 is Buffalo. I think Buffalo's defense is obviously better than Seattle's. I don't think their offense is quite as good, but there's not that much of a gap between those offenses as much as there is on defense. And the Buffaloes played a little bit better teams. So I'm going to take Buffalo as the 3rd best team in front of Seattle. And number 2 is the Green Bay Packers, best team in the NFC. Here's why they're better than Seattle. I don't really think you can say Seattle's offense is better. I think Green Bay's offense is better. Obviously, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers is a toss-up. Aaron Jones is much better than Chris Carson. Devontae Adams, he's been hurt. I mean, their receivers are pretty equal. But the defense is what does it for me. Again, Green Bay's defense has played a little better than Seattle's, and Green Bay's beaten the Saints. They've beaten 2 divisional teams, and they've looked great. Green Bay has looked great, so I'm giving them 2nd. And number 1 is your defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. They've beaten some good teams as well. They beat the Ravens, they beat the Patriots, they beat the Chargers, which division games are hard. And so they're 4-0. Their offense is obviously amazing with Patrick Mahomes. The defense is doing what it needs to do to complement the offense. That's what Seattle needs. That's what Green Bay needs. They just need their defense to complement and let their offense do the work. But I'm just worried for Seattle down the stretch when you start playing really, really, really high-powered offenses. That's just a side note. That's my top 5 teams right now, guys, is the Kansas City Chiefs, Green Bay Packers are your top 2 teams. Buffalo Bills at 3, Seahawks 4, and Ravens rounded out at 5. And that's going to end this special edition episode of Hunt's Hot Takes. This has a lot of stuff to comment on, guys, a lot of content on this one. I would love your input, love your opinions on the teams, the positional groups, what you think is going to happen in the divisions. Of course, share us and subscribe to us on YouTube and our Facebook page. This has been just another episode of Hunt's Hot Takes.